Good evening, everyone. Todd Warren here on Facebook Live, as well as streaming on the weather page of our website, ktalnews.com, with a live update on what's going to be a very stormy couple of days here across the ArkLaTex. Of course, we have seen the storms increase from south to north as expected during the afternoon, and looks like the next round of rain is moving into the I-20 corridor. We do have a new tornado watch that is in effect for East Texas and Northwest Louisiana until 1 a.m. And coming up, I'm going to show you, first of all, quick look at the time lapse from Texarkana and the eclipse today. Hopefully, you got a chance to see it. I was pleasantly surprised at the visibility as the low clouds that we had this morning burned off just in time, giving way to a great show pretty much along the entire path of totality. So that was the good news. The bad news is now we got to pay the price with 2 or 3 days, or at least 2 more days of stormy weather. And I think the main concern will eventually end up being flooding. We will have a tornado risk, hence the tornado watch. I'll show you the latest on that, both from the HRRR model. I have the latest, the 23Z run in. I did show a pretty good rotation swath, but the 0Z, which is coming in now, kind of backed off on that just a little bit. So hopefully, it's not, doesn't mean that we're out of the woods, but hopefully it's a sign that we may escape any significant tornado issues this evening. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to ask away. If you just want to say hello, Top, that's great too. Let me, first of all, as I say our hellos, let me move this back to the time lapse out of Texarkana during the eclipse. So I set this up to go from about 1:30 to about 1:55, and you'll see it gradually getting darker. It'll go dark, lights come on, and then the sun comes back out. So kind of interesting. Another pretty good one that I posted earlier on my page, you may want to scroll down and see that on my Facebook page from DeKalb. And also our chief engineer, Steve Henry, took some amazing photos. He had this fancy lens that he was able to capture some great images, and a couple of prominences were visible. In other words, the little spokes that look like little loops coming out from the edge of the sun. So that was very interesting to see. I didn't see that with the eclipse back in 2017. So let me see who's tuning in tonight. Looks like a big list. Hello to everyone. I'm going to kind of go quickly through the hellos since this is a severe weather night. And so hello to everyone on this stormy night across the area. Appreciate everyone watching. It is going to get kind of rough, Michelle, with severe weather. Let's see. Fellas, it happened. I'm glad we did see it, fellas. To be honest with you, Friday, I really didn't think we would see it at all. But yesterday, I did post an update on the webpage, and the high-res models were indicating a few breaks would be possible. So it turned out to be a good thing. So lots of rain and nasty lightning. And Marshall says, Gail, Aaron, I'm glad you got to see the eclipse. Let's see. And I'll get to everyone. Some of you are asking, how's it looking here? So I'm going to go ahead and get going here and try to answer your questions. So listen closely. So that'll be the most efficient way. I'll try to address things, and you'll see the answers as we get going. So here we go with a current look at what we have on the radar right now. And you can see the first point to make is that we do not have any severe thunderstorm warnings currently in place across the ArkLaTex. That cluster of thunderstorms that moved through Shreveport earlier this afternoon did become severe with some hail near Atlanta, as well as in Texarkana, some quarter-sized hail. I did see some hail at our camera location on Summer Hill Road, but it was bigger on the Arkansas side. Those storms have since moved to the north. Now we have the next wave moving along Interstate 20. And notice the white box, that is basically a special weather statement. In other words, strong storm, capable of maybe a little bit of hail and some gusty winds is what those typically mean, but both are below severe limits. What we're going to have to watch here the previous run of the HRRR that I'm going to show you here in a second did show that this activity off to the west of the ArkLaTex will be coming into an environment where we could see a little bit more of a chance for some rotating action. So that's something that we'll be watching for from now until midnight as that activity moves into East Texas, hence the risk for the tornado risk and the tornado watch that we have in place. Main concern with the activity tonight, number one, probably will be heavy rain. Number two, the chance for that spin up of a thunderstorm, maybe a little bit of hail, and we also could have a few gusts of wind. The only wind issue so far has been up in Hempstead County, so the wind hasn't been too much of an issue so far. So that's what we have right now on the radar. Again, no warnings currently in effect, just lots and lots of rain. Since I have the radar up, let me show you how much rain has fallen here during the past 24 hours. And you'll see the areas of green. That's where the radar is indicating that we've seen amounts that have basically been over an inch. You can see near Marshall, the yellow here is at least 2 inches. So we're already seeing some spots that have picked up. Let me go ahead and click on some of these locations. So Texarkana, almost an inch. You could see Marshall, about a half an inch. The amounts going up in Shreveport, probably over an inch here in Shelby County. So we've already seen amounts approach an inch, even if you isolated 1 to over 2 inch totals across the region, and we got a lot more coming. All right, so here's that tornado watch for East Texas and Northwest Louisiana. It's in effect until 1 a.m. for that activity that I pointed out, which will move into our area later on this evening. And also, obviously, we could have some wind issues and maybe a little bit of hail with some of those thunderstorms. Now, moving forward, we're not going to see this end until this finally moves through the area, and that's not going to happen until late Wednesday night. So we're going to see these waves of thunderstorms develop and move across the area, and you'll see this on the national view of things here. Storms lifting to the north, we'll see them kind of drift back to the south for the most part later on tonight and tomorrow, and then pretty good model agreement. Notice that big cluster of storms late tomorrow night into Wednesday. Futurecast showing it, the HRRR showing it, another high-res model showing it. So looks like a widespread heavy rain late tomorrow night into Wednesday. That could pose a bit of a wind risk as well. And I'll talk about the tornado risk with this coming up in just a bit. Once this low moves by, then we'll finally see things wrap up as we head into Wednesday night. And we'll begin a streak of several days where it will dry out, which we will need, as you'll see why in a second, and we will see a pretty good warm-up again as we head into the weekend with upper-level ridging building over us. And then we could see another chance for some thunderstorms during the middle part of next week as well. All right, let's go through the risk outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow. You can see the enhanced risks, basically Interstate 20 and points south. Right now, models kind of hinting further east, maybe this part of the ArkLaTex as to where that risk may be at its highest, especially that tornado risk. I'll show you why I say that here in a second. Then Wednesday, the biggest risk to the east, and the risk will gradually decrease from northwest to southeast during the day on Wednesday. And all severe weather threats will be possible on all 3 days. All right, so there you go. So here is the HRRR model. And I believe this is the afternoon run. I picked this. Yes, this is the next 18 hours. So this is the 20Z. This will only go out to about through tomorrow afternoon. So you can see the main focus will be between Shreveport and Texarkana, between Interstates 20 and Interstates 30 during the next several hours. And here's that cluster that the HRRR with this particular run was indicating that we would have to keep an eye on. Don't pay too much attention to exact location. It could be anywhere. It depends on when it sets up. And you can see heading into the early afternoon hours, you can see the rain looks like it could be quite persistent in that area between Texarkana and Shreveport, northeast Texas, southern Arkansas, North Louisiana there between I-30 and I-20. So that's what the HRRR, the very latest run. This only goes out 18 hours. That's why it stops at 1 p.m. on Monday. That being said, here's the latest run of Futurecast, and you can see that it shows the new development a little bit further to the north, curiously. Now, this is a little bit older model data, but you can see it does keep the focus across the north. There's a new cluster of thunderstorms that we would have to watch for tomorrow afternoon. The HR earlier today had this down here. So we'll, again, don't zero in too much. Tomorrow afternoon is probably going to be the time frame where our tornado risk may be at its highest. And there is that cluster of thunderstorms that Futurecast is indicating for late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. That will shift to the east during the day Wednesday, and then we see the storms become more scattered in nature as we go through Wednesday afternoon. So you can kind of see the waves. These storms could occur at any time. We might catch a break, periodic break in the widespread activity. It's kind of hard to zero in on exactly when those breaks would occur. Just be aware that the chance for any thunderstorm that we get will have the capability of being strong to severe. Now, going to the point I made, the reason why we have, this is probably the reason why we have the current tornado watch in effect, is that the HRRR, you can see that the stronger, the reds and even some blues here in East Texas that try to move into northwest Louisiana. That's probably the reason why we have this new tornado watch in effect. So far we haven't had anything, knock on wood, as far as rotating storms across the area. Let's hope that continue. And I will tell you that, again, the newest run of the HRRR, which is coming in, does not have the intensity that this particular run does. So we'll see what transpires, but just be aware that there is that possibility for the next 4 or 5 hours for that isolated tornado. Here's a look at the Futurecast depiction of rainfall potential, and I will tell you, it looks to be a bit on the light side to me as far as what it is showing, as far as amounts. I would expect all of us have an excellent chance of seeing at least 5 inches. All right, and the reason why I say that, here is the HRRR run from earlier this afternoon. I would expect around 5 at least for most of us. If you don't get 5, it's going to be at least 3. Okay, this is what is concerning, is this would be the worst case scenario. Are we going to get 8 inches in Shreveport? Probably not. But the potential, the key word here is potential. The potential is there that we could see some totals. This color over here, this is 11 inches. And in some spots, maybe a foot. All right, now I'm not saying we're going to get a foot of rain, but the potential is there that it could happen. So you can see the point will eventually flooding will eventually become the main concern here as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours, especially with that wave of storms that could occur late tomorrow night into Wednesday. We would already received, several inches of rain. Big swath of heavy rain comes through, aggravating any flooding that may develop tomorrow. So again, flooding will, again, one thing I haven't mentioned, which is obvious, that we do have a flood watch, which is in effect for all of the area through Wednesday. All right, so here's what happens in the next 10 days. You can see the wave of thunderstorms moving across the area. And notice too, notice the time here, 6 a.m. Notice that big cluster of storms that this model is also showing, and it's not a high-res model. So Wednesday morning could be very active. We'll quiet down for several days. The ridge builds up. 80s return by the weekend, and then we'll see this storm off the west coast maybe give us a shot for some thunderstorms during the first half, maybe middle part of next week. So that's the longer range view of what we could be looking at here. So again, tornado watch in effect. All severe weather threats will be possible from now through Wednesday. We could still have a few reports of hail. The HRRR was showing with the storms tomorrow morning we could have some hail. So hail will also be possible. We could have those damaging winds these thunderstorms also can produce. So now that I've rambled, and I do have some time, I'm going to stop this, put it back on the radar, and try to answer any questions that you may have here. And let's see, put this in the motion, and go back to the feed here and see what we got here. Let's see. Rusty asks a good question. Right now, I would lean towards East Texas, Northwest Louisiana, probably is where the risk will be at its highest. Now, not all models are on board with that. I do get concerned when Futurecast and the HRRR line up. When that happens, and they're both really heavy, then all bets are off. It is encouraging that the very latest run of Futurecast is not as heavy, basically because it doesn't show as much tomorrow. And the HRRR, which is coming in now, let me see if I can get that. Let's see, I want to see what this looks like. Okay. So this would be tornado potential. Again, I showed you, notice no colors here. This is basically the next several hours. And then we go through tomorrow, and here's a little swath up in northeast Texas tomorrow evening. And then here comes, this is Wednesday morning. That's that cluster that comes up Wednesday morning. And it does look like southeast edge of the area during the day Wednesday is where the tornado risk will maybe at its highest. Let me switch this over. Since this run, I will have this, be able to show this probably on the air during the second half hour on Fox 33. Let me switch this over to the actual radar here and kind of give you a sense of what the HRRR is showing. Again, this is tonight. Notice that storms move north, they come back south, and they kind of stay. There's a break middle of the day tomorrow into tomorrow evening, and then here comes that big swath Wednesday morning. See how that lines up with Futurecast? So it looks like it is possible we could see a little bit of a break tomorrow, and then tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, and then everything shifts to the east with some scattered stuff late Wednesday. So there's some decent agreement there between the two models. We'll have to keep an eye on tomorrow night. It looks like as far as the more widespread, stronger thunderstorms. All right, let's go back here. So to answer your question, Rusty, it does look like it's going to be that area south of I-30, maybe a little bit south of Shreveport, East Texas, east and northeast Texas, part of southwest Arkansas, and especially the northern half of northwest Louisiana. That's probably where it's going to be at its heaviest. Let's see. Amanda, you do not have a tornado watch here for tonight as of right now. I do think that the heaviest rain probably will stay to your south there in Little River County. Portia, if so, maybe a little late tonight. And then we catch a little bit of a break, possibly in through the morning hours, and we'll see another wave possibly tomorrow afternoon. Simone says lots of lightning and thunder in Longview. Carol, you're going to get some heavy rain, probably. Looks like that activity near Gilmer may move to your south, so the worst may be to your south. The key is going to be these storms that are off to the west of us. And those, especially this activity here near Corsicana, these will have to be watched as we move forward. Okay? And Lee, you mentioned that with the HR, that was the last run, the newest run, if you're referring to that, doesn't show that intensity that the previous run did. Basically because there's new upper level data that's available at that time. Katie, there is a chance. I can't put I can't quantify it in a specific manner. I was going to show you the hail from Futurecast, but it doesn't help, tell the story that well. So that's why I didn't. It doesn't show a whole lot of black, so it is possible, but I can't say give you a size. Carlos says lots of wind in Ashdown. Christopher makes a good point. Depends on where that front stops and where these storms stop. But you can kind of see that this line that's along I-20 now moving to the north, and then as you saw with the HR, it kind of comes back to the south and stalls. So where all that happens again is the $64 million question. And that's where the rain will be at its heaviest. Kalen, Little Rock, again, that's a little outside of my area. Let me go back here to the outlooks. And this is tonight. For tonight, just a marginal risk up there in Little Rock. And that's all that I have on here. And I think it's probably going to be worse here south tomorrow and Wednesday, too. Taylor, you're quite welcome. Again, just be aware, the rain is really going to be the issue. That tornado is possible here for the probably the next couple of days. So we're going to have to watch tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have to watch late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning for that cluster that comes in from the southwest across, especially the southern half of the area. On 49, that's a bit of a stretch. Usually the flooding doesn't occur on the interstates. It'd have to be an incredible amount of rain very, very quickly. It's the roadways that, you know, go in a low spot, usually the secondary roads, the county roads. State highways are usually okay, some where, you know, which go to a bridge. You don't want the low-lying areas are basically the areas that tend to flood will go first. Well, also in some of the heavier downpours, obviously urban areas could see that become an issue in the next couple of days in some of the heavier downpours. Let me switch this back over to the radar here. It's getting late, so I guess I'm going to have to wrap things up. So just kind of a quick reminder that we have these storms that are pushing, especially in East Texas, that we'll have to watch in the next couple of hours. We do have a tornado watch in effect, flood watch in effect. Severe weather will be possible through Wednesday. The number one concern will eventually become flooding. We will have a risk for tornadoes in the next couple of hours, probably tomorrow afternoon, and maybe late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Wind and hail also will accompany some of the stronger storms. So that in a nutshell is what we're looking at. Generally, I would expect, especially south of I-30, to get at least 5 inches. It is possible many locations could get lots more. And we'll know more on that as the I will tell you that the HRRR 0Z run through tomorrow afternoon had 5 inches along I-20. So there you go, in the next 24 hours, and we're not done yet. So that kind of shows you what we could be looking at. Well, that will do it for me tonight, folks. Just a couple minutes away from the 9 o'clock newscast. Again, tune in at 9. I will be able to show the HRRR latest run, hopefully in the first main weather, but definitely in the second main weather at 9:40-ish. And of course, I'll have it at 10. Josh will be relieving me at midnight tonight, and he'll take you through the late night and morning hours tomorrow morning, and I'll be back probably sometime late tomorrow morning to relieve him as we cover these waves of thunderstorms moving across the ArkLaTex. So as always, pleasure chatting with you this evening. I'll try to, if I have a break tomorrow, I may do it again sometime in the afternoon. But definitely we'll be back tomorrow evening with the very latest then. So again, as always, pleasure chatting with you. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, have a great night and stay safe. Good night.